Welcome back to the Multifamily Geeks YouTube channel. My name is Kyle Andre. I'm a podcast producer working on several different projects with Multifamily Geeks. I am joined today by the CEO of Multifamily Geeks, Max Rock. Max, how are you doing today?
Thank you, Kyle. Thank you for having me, and thank you for those who are willing to listen to this. Appreciate that very much.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the thought process behind this conversation today is I'm working on several different podcast and video projects with you, and I thought it would help me in my role to sort of understand a little bit more about you and sort of your journey and what Multifamily Geeks is about. But while we are also in like content making mode, we thought it would make sense to hit record on the conversation, upload it to YouTube in case anybody is considering what we offer here. They can check this out as sort of a resource. So that leads me to my first question. Tell me more about what it is that you do with the Multifamily Geeks and how is it that your group operates?
You know, we are what we call a multifamily syndicator. We syndicate multifamily properties. We partner with investors who are regular people, maybe even like yourself or anybody viewing this, to help them achieve freedom in their lives. And that could be, we look at freedom in our lives as anything ranging from what an individual might consider that to be for themselves, like maybe freedom of time, definitely freedom of money, freedom of relationships, etc.
So I've worked adjacent to real estate and the mortgage world for most of the last decade. And until I started working on these projects with you, I'd never heard of the concept of syndicating multifamily properties. Help me understand what that concept is and what that looks like.
So there were some changes about 10 years ago now, 10, 15-ish years ago with the SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission, which allowed individuals to privately place investments with private investors. So a syndication, simply put, is the pooling of private investor money to buy an asset. And in this case, we're talking about multifamily properties. We improve it, we sell it, we pay back the principal and returns to the investors. And so, you know, just like I mentioned, what this has allowed to do is allow investors now are regular people, like a lot of us. So instead of just being focused on, say, the stock market, for example, regular investors, regular people can put their money into something like a multifamily property in our case and earn a return.
Help me understand why it would be multifamily properties as opposed to, say, commercial properties or something like that.
So this is true. The syndication structure can be applied to any asset class, the pooling of private investor money to buy that asset as an investment, right? What makes multifamily unique and really interesting to us are several of the sort of combining factors that make it very unique. You know, we say things like a truly passive investment, which is, we hear about a lot. Passive investment meant you put your money into something and all of a sudden find out you're ending up running it, right? Or jumping in and saving it. The syndication process for multifamily allows you to have two asset classes, a controlling general partner class that the experts like ourselves, we've done 9 of these syndications so far, full circle. We know how to buy a property. We know how to run the property. We know what to do in asset management. We know how to hire the right property managers. We know how to fix it up. We know how to sell it, right? So that's the operating class. The investor class becomes a limited partner group, and they become able to just invest in the property and sit there and reap the rewards without knowing all the integral details of running the property. So that's one issue. Another thing is tax savings. Multifamily has a very interesting structure that allows a process called cost segregation to be used, which is, practically speaking, it's an acceleration of depreciation, which allows potentially, depending on if it's passive income or active, right? Depends on your tax status, and that's a issue with the investor and their tax advisor. But you can, it provides the opportunity to depreciate the property and then write that off from taxes, saving additional money, not just the returns on the property, but even magnifying returns because of the tax savings. And then there's unique leverage opportunities, these things we call non-recourse loans, which allows properties to be purchased again and again and again based upon as the sponsor of the property, you know, our experience and our liquidity and our net worth can be applied to property after property after property. That's a unique feature of the asset class. And then, you know, the non-expert status of the investor is a great thing where they can, you know, just come along for the ride. It still provides a physical asset. You know, we can fly to the building, with 200 to 300 units in it. We can kick the tires, so to speak, find the physical building. It's not going anywhere. A lot of great aspects for investors to be more secure and to lower the risk level of it. And then just the idea of diversifying from traditional investment vehicles like stocks. We have so little control over the stock market and what goes on with that and that whole environment, where now it's a smaller, more controllable environment that we understand. We know what we're doing. We can do specific tasks to raise the value of the property and therefore sell it at the return we're projecting and pay that to our investors. Oh, and one last thing about multifamily. We say it all the time, and I don't think it's even said enough, is everybody needs a place to sleep. Every single one of us is buying back into our place to sleep every night, and every renter in the nation is paying that money every single night to sleep in that apartment. And it's an amazing asset to be a part of in terms of investment.
Wow. So just the diversification of what you're able to do with your investment, taking it from like a more traditional stock or like, trading background there, and being able to have more actual control over, the ultimate destiny on what it is you're investing in is kind of a unique opportunity, certainly. And then you listed a bunch of different tax abilities that it gives you, and the ability to, do these, I'm sorry, reoccurring loans. Is that what they were called?
Yeah, they're called non-recourse loans. Yeah, just
Non-recourse loans.
contrast it with, say, an individual person who went out and bought a house and rented it out to a tenant, right? They buy another one and another one. Buy about 3 houses or maybe 4. The bank says, whoop, that's enough. You're not buying any more. We got your name on all these loans, right?
Yeah,
The
that's the way I
non-recourse
understand
loans,
it coming
right?
from residential.
It's true, and that's true in residential. And you jump up to the large multifamily properties, they'll give you as many loans as they can. In fact, once they find great operators, the banks want to reloan to us as many times as possible because they know us. We're a business entity serving their needs too, right?
So a lot of my experience within that real estate and mortgage world was in business development, was in recruiting, was in team building. So I'm genuinely always curious in what somebody's sort of, life path, their experience, their resume, for lack of a better term, sort of looks like that leads them to their current position. So help me understand the journey your career has taken to lead you to start this company.
Well, it's a pretty diverse background I consider myself having. I went to college as a civil engineer and a specifically structural engineering within the civil engineering discipline. I've been a serial entrepreneur my whole life. And at some point, I went back and got my MBA. I'm also an educator. I love learning and I love growing. So I've started several businesses in my life, including a small furniture chain with 3 stores. I had a structural engineering business of my own. I even had a toy package design company at one time.
Wow.
I have a broker's license in 2 states, California and Georgia. So I've had a property management company at one time. And then I just sort of, came into the idea that, hey, I could actually buy these properties myself, manage them myself, and I could bring a lot of my investor friends along for the ride too and pay them better returns in a lot of cases than almost any other asset class out there. So I discovered the process of syndication, and like yourself, it's kind of a hidden secret for those insiders that understand what's going on about this whole idea of buying a large property like this, fixing it up and selling it. A normal person might think of a flip of a single family home. It's largely what we're doing with 200 to 300 units at a time, right? So we're getting real advantage of scale and leverage. And so about 5 years ago, I learned about syndication, just became fascinated with it, and have, basically, I guess my mind said, wow, I could be a full-time investor one day if I could understand this process. And a lot of us have that kind of dream. So, we've done 9 syndications over the past 5 years. 6 have been 200 to 300 units. 3 have been 80 to 150 units. And we're actively looking for new syndications right now. We sponsor students who find deals and bring them to us, and all kinds of things in that world. It's very exciting.
Exactly. So,
Yeah.
in addition to starting the company, you've also developed this group of real estate investors that are actively bringing deals to you guys for funding, but as well as regularly meeting with you and other members of your company to find more avenues of opportunity, understand more about the inner workings and these underwriting outlines. That's not what I want. Guidelines. These underwriting guidelines. Tell me more about the group and how the whole idea got started to bring other people into this.
Somewhere along our journey, we started to be approached by students who wanted to learn the process of syndication also. So we wrote our own, we call it an underwriting template. It's a Google sheet that we give away for free on our website. It allows students to get documents from a property, plug them into the template, and start to ask the question of what kind of, if I buy this property for this price, what kind of returns can I get from my investors? Would this make a good investment? Is this one of the multifamilies we should pursue to buy? So along the way, students said, I don't know how to use your template. We said, oh, we'll train you. We started to spend some time. We did a subscription model where we have a group of students that we meet with regularly. We have actually 3 features to that. We have a content call once a week where we talk about syndications, either insiders or outsiders from our group experts talk about how to syndicate. We have an executive book club call where, you hear about the average CEO reads a book a week, right? So we know how important reading is for student growth, and that the executive book club encourages students to go ahead and read books, present them to the group, and we even post those on our YouTube channel to give our students more exposure. And then finally, we have an underwriting call where students bring either properties they're working on or homework. We have our sort of homework properties that we have students practice on using the underwriting template, so we can really get into discussions on specifics about what it is that makes a great purchase in a multifamily property.
Wow, that sounds really cool in that it's so education based. It's like trying to understand these templates. And then also, in addition to that, the self-improvement aspect of the executive book club function. I don't think I've talked about with that. I don't think I've talked with you about that in the past. It's actually really cool that you guys sort of push each other to remain accountable to, sort of hold yourselves up to that standard. We're trying to read a book a week, and this is how we're going to do it. And then, real life scenario, anecdotal stuff that people are working on, bring it to the group, be able to work on it together as more of like a collaborative effort, and it gives everybody an opportunity to learn in a real life scenario. That's great. So I think I might have just answered my own questions with what I just said. But now that I understand that syndication is, or what syndication is, I imagine that there are probably similar groups out there in the wild. I'm not sure. If there were others, what would you say makes your group more unique or a better opportunity than other similar programs or networking groups?
So I appreciate that question. There are a lot of other groups out there. We're big fans of a lot of other groups ourselves. At the same time, we have certain features to our group that we think makes us very unique. We are a big fan of the book Traction by Gino Wickman, which is basically a business operating type of structure that we like to encourage students to practice within their own companies that they're building, from the ground up. So, that system preaches 6 key components to a business. So we're working with students on how to build those. One of those that we love a lot is that system encouraged us to develop the 5 key or core values to our business, right? So we try to build that group around those values. We try to be those values ourselves, and we try to find group members that fit those values. And the 5 values real quick are, and they're on our website, multifamilygeeks.com. You can look into them. And we talk about them quite a bit. And the first one is team player, open, honest, transparent. The second is humbly confident, no arrogance, no entitlement, facts over charisma. And then the third is do what we say, try to be realistic, but once we do that, try to be reliable. And then the fourth one is do what is right. And because 2 humans can have completely opposite ideas of what's right, we say consider all perspectives. It doesn't mean we're going to both believe what the other person believes, but we're going to do our best to put ourselves in their shoes and understand where they're coming from. And then continually growing, open to the idea that we could learn something new that could change our perspective. So when we talk about these core values, we always say we're human, we make mistakes, but these are the foundational values upon which we're working to build relationships. And what you'll find in this process of syndicating multifamily properties, partnership is not only required, but the right partners become the difference between having a miserable experience and having a wonderful experience. So we always say there's problems to every deal, but when you show up with people that you fit with values-wise, the problems become a lot more fun to solve. So the relationship component that those core values help to set is so fundamentally important. And we preach those from the beginning, middle, and end. And we try to allow each other to hold ourselves accountable and come back and say, hey, let's talk about that value. And it kind of just gives everyone permission to talk about some things that possibly in relationships aren't so comfortable, but must be addressed along the way. So, and then we take it a step further. We have the three uniques of our business. We call it love, grow, freedom. And this is a little bit abstract maybe, but love we consider to be the foundation of life. And it's, sort of the essence of what everything grows from. And from that, we go to grow, which is every human being has the right to grow to their highest level that they can attain at the moment. And that's a moving target. So we're constantly growing and we're constantly looking at each other, trying to grow ourselves and be a part of each other's growth. And then freedom. We're a big fan of the idea that humans are motivated by this evolutionary concept. And we may think of it more simply as just freedom. We crave freedom. We want freedom of time, freedom of money, freedom of relationships, freedom of purpose. We want to be able to determine where we're headed in life and go get it, right? And so freedom of thought, this is just to name a few. There's a lot of freedoms out there, and our individual members set those goals for themselves. But that's what the group is designed to do. Not just multifamily, not just income or money, but we're going for a lot more than that. We want to see humans develop to their highest level, and that's what we're happy with ourselves, and that's what we're happy with in others in the group.
I like how you define those 5 core characteristics of what it is that you look for in a new member. And I know that we talked about this briefly, and it's featured pretty prominently on the website. So it was one of the first things that, I really got to know about you guys as a company. Before even the concept of syndication, I got to know these 5 core values about you. And it helped me to understand at least what you were about more as a person. But the fact that you carry those over to your business practices was an important piece for me in my decision to want to work with you guys. So I really appreciate the fact that you put those things up front. And that's like sort of, a guided spiritual criteria as to what you look for in a person before you decide to do business with them. But it did sort of yield the natural question. Has anyone ever attempted to join your group that weren't a fit for your core values? And if that has happened, how does that process go for you?
So I'll give you some simple examples because this plays out more naturally than you might expect. When we discuss the values deliberately, it gives everyone permission to say who they are. And we feel this is every human's fundamental right. Decide who you are and find your group, right? Find your values fit group. And if it's not us, that's great. There's always other groups out there. And there's nothing wrong with any other values at all. It's just we're trying to do one thing and be who we are. And so what you'll have is people just, realistically assess. There are people that go, I don't particularly like that value. I'm different. And it just allows an open discussion. Hey, we don't look like we're a fit for each other. This is probably not the best idea. And, think of someone in your life you love, but you wouldn't want to get into a business deal with. And that's kind of the difference here. If, it could be a person very close to me, right? It could be a family member. I love them, right? I can still love a person, but say to them, hey, I don't think we're a fit values wise. We probably shouldn't get into a 5 to 7 year deal together. We talk about this like marriage, right? You can love another person, and we've all had great relationships with people where we go, yeah, but in the end, I really don't want to marry that person. That's not the right thing for us to do. It would be wise for us to have an open discussion and come to a mutual agreement and just do that up front. We can be as adult as possible, right? Which isn't always possible in certain situations, but we're always striving for that, right? If we're not a fit, let's go ahead and just discuss it openly. And we can still be great friends. We may even hang out together, right? But that doesn't mean we should be doing a 5 to 7 year a deal together with millions of dollars involved, right? And that's the difference between the two, I think. Does that help explain it maybe?
100%. And also, I think it sort of, sheds light on other parts of what this process and what people can expect if they were to invest with you. It is a 5 to 7 year commitment. I think looking at it as a marriage of sorts is like a logical, common sense sort of thing because so much money involved. I mean, there's going to be more money involved with one of these deals than there is in the average marriage, I bet.
Yeah, some of these deals can be $5 to $40 million, right? I mean, these are these are big deals. So
So it's important that you're working with the right people and not just somebody with a pulse who happens to have, an interest in real estate investment. So what sort of success stories has the group yielded to this point? I know it's been it'll be a year in June, I believe, that the group has existed. What sort of success stories have you yielded to this point?
yeah, we're new. We're just working things out, but we've had some great members along the way, and the successes we feel, we can't claim all of them, but we feel we've been a part of these members' lives that they're going through these experiences, right? So our members have enjoyed multifamily investing success and becoming, we call them GPs. That's a general partner. That is the asset managing controlling group. They're the ones who essentially get paid in sweat equity, so to speak, for their work and expertise on the property. Our members have moved into that status. Of course, we've had those in LP. That's the limited partner. That's a lot easier to do, but nonetheless, not many people out there even know it exists. We've had our members become asset managers. We've had our members just go out and outrightly buy multifamilies, right? You don't always have to do a 200 to 300. Maybe you want to buy a 5 or 10 or 15 unit on your own and just own it outright. That's a possibility too. And a lot of the understanding of syndications and maybe the income from syndications can allow that to happen too for our members. So, and then developers of multifamily syndication training programs. We've fostered people like ourselves that have grown up through this sort of learning curve and gone on to move on to start their own companies. So we call them, you're creating a private equity multifamily investment company. That's what you're building. And we'll train you how to do it. You can copy our model to do it, and you're going to build your own. And so moving up and out is part of what our members have done. And yeah, maybe just the satisfaction, the purpose of life, that the exploring of people becoming more familiar with themselves and their unique ability. That's a Dan Sullivan term, but just a growth of people. And we've had a lot of our members go out and start philanthropic components of their business too, this sort of social component, social entrepreneurship, I think we're calling it these days, of trying to make the world a better place through business. And we think that's awesome. So we're very proud of all those growth stories of our students.
That's excellent. So I know that you sort of walked me through what a typical week of membership would look like in the various times that you meet. Any other perks of joining the Geek Group, and what membership might look like for new or current members that we haven't talked about yet?
Well, so the Geek Group at the moment is a subscription-based service. We call it values fit. Students can opt to join depending on what experiences they're trying to achieve in their investment careers. Probably our most popular is, we call it the Geek Group PRO membership, which includes the weekly multifamily call using our multifamily underwriting template. We just have this theory that kind of no matter where your place is in syndication, maybe you're just going to invest in these buildings, and you're welcome to send us, your 100,000 or your 500,000, and we will invest it. We're fiduciaries. We will definitely do that. But we love the idea that our investors are deepening their understanding of the investment. And, there's a lot of intuitive understanding of an apartment building, right? Tenants live there, pay rent, you pay the mortgage on the building, you pay the expenses and upkeep the building, and the rest of the money is yours / to split with your investors. So it's a pretty basic idea, but you start to get into a 200 to 300 unit property. There's a lot of different value adds and creativity that can come into play in this business. It's very exciting. So, we're building storage units out back. We're adding units where we had some where it's a three bedroom, 2 bath, and we're splitting those into multi units where we're even adding units to the property for creating value right there. So very exciting process. And that underwriting call is where we deepen that understanding. We have all our students, they can upload properties right onto our shared drive. Then we analyze the T12, the rent roll, and the offering memorandum. We go through those each week. Students can underwrite the same properties. They can bring their own. We have the practice ones, and that's a really exciting process. We have our own underwriting template, which allows us to sort of explain to students, where that came from. We built it ourselves, right? So we have a whole theory about investment that we believe has been part of our success. And then the Geek Group Pro includes that weekly executive book club. And what actually happens is the average person can't read a book a week. But if you can read a book a month, or even a book every other month, you're going to present that book. And since there's multiple members in the group, someone is presenting a book, one or more, every week. So maybe we had one call where 3 people are presenting books. So now all of a sudden you get to sort of magnify your book reading capacity without reading more books. You're still going to read one every other month, but because there's so many members presenting each week, you're now getting the benefit of hearing about those books, and that leverages all the members reading to help each other. Plus, you can start to key in on future books. You're like, I know which one I'm reading next because that one sounds really interesting to me. So, and then finally, the Geek Group Pro subscription includes our weekly Geek Group content call. We have about 50-50 presenters from the inside of the group and the outside. We call them experts on syndication. Outsiders could be anything from commercial loan brokers to cost segregators to sponsors. We have other sponsors we bring on our calls. And then insiders can be, we have our members present. We feel like the teacher always learns the most. So we want to encourage our members to present as much as possible. The book group, the underwriting group, and this content call, we've got members and students presenting each week, also about 50-50 insiders and outsiders to push us. In a lot of cases for our members, it's the first time they've ever presented on any kind of topic, outside of, say, maybe their regular job or something like that. So those 3 calls are part of that Geek Group Pro subscription.
And like I said before, a lot of opportunities for education and growth within this group, which is, I think, my favorite part about listening to you talk about it. It sounds like it can genuinely impact people in a very positive way, not only in their own real estate investment capacity, but within their personal growth and development mentality and things like that. So,
yeah, and just I'm sorry to interrupt right there. If I could just interject, the other part is the networking part of the group, right? You're networking with like-minded, values match individuals who are all trying to learn about syndication too. So we've fostered, I don't think we're up to 10 yet, but we're headed toward, we encourage members to form their own private equity investment firms, and that's opening an LLC and partnering with up to 4 others, right? So you have 5 on a team. We love that whole 5 position that the Traction book lays out of visionary integrator, manager of marketing, manager of operations, and manager of finance. Once you get those 5 positions together on your team, and you can find those people, which is we are finding them through the Geek Group, now you have your own group going and your own company going. So when it comes time to find properties at some point in the future, you're going to be breaking off and building a business of your own. So the networking for us is a key feature. We're very proud of the relationships we've helped foster also.
Get to meet like-minded people due to the value core, matching up in the beginning when they first join, and then through these multiple meetings that you guys have to be able to learn and push each other, relationships develop, and before you know it, you're your own real estate private equity firm. Should anybody watching want more information about how to join the Geek Group, where should they go?
Great. So thank you for that. So one of the best ways to get to know us is to go to our website, multifamilygeeks.com. There's a free student login. We have an information system called AnthroBank. So there's a free student login into AnthroBank. And in there is a tools tab. You can download our free multifamily underwriting template. It is a portfolio template. You can underwrite up to 7 different properties on it at the same time, switch them on and off and see how the portfolio looks. It's a full pro forma with up to 10-year hold on it. You can control the hold time. You can control refis. When do you want to refi that property and pay out your investors and keep them in the deal? A lot of cool features to it. That's all for free. Go to Multifamily Geeks and investigate that. And you can always text us if you have trouble with any of that. And then it might be helpful to start viewing some of our YouTube instructional videos. We have a lot of them out there. How to underwrite a multifamily property, some of the aspects of syndication. What's the syndication process? How do students make money in a syndication, right? How does the GP and LP split work? And all those details that it can be quite daunting at first, but if you hang in there, it's a very real thing. I remember when I first heard about it, I said to myself, this doesn't sound real, right? It really is real. And we've done a bunch of them, and they're being done every day in America. And there's a lot more to do. In fact, there's an unlimited number more to do. So come on aboard, and maybe we can help you figure out this cool industry and open up some futures for you. And then finally, it might be important to view some of our non-multifamily videos and topics like core values, the 3 uniques like love, grow, freedom. Those kind of things we think are very important aspect of, if you end up being a DECA millionaire, it would be great if you've got the other side of ourselves being developed too, right? There's a lot more to life than just money or success. There's the human growth side, and we want you to be a part of that too.
Beautiful. And we'll have links to the website and all of the playlists of things that you should probably check out as free resources down in the description of this video. Max Rock, CEO of Multifamily Geeks, thank you so much for taking the time to chat today. I look forward to chatting with you again soon.
Thank you. Thanks, Kyle. Thanks for having me.